tonight we're doing something kind of different for Why We Love the Internet. Like, instead of talking about things like crap taxidermy or air traffic control memes, we're going to talk about something kind of real. We have Miles Greb joining us tonight to talk about the March for Science. Miles is are we calling you the coordinator or organizer of the Satellite March for Science in Seattle? Does that sound?
Sure. I think good? Organizer is the term.
CEO, COO, CSO,
yeah.
CPA.
He's getting shit done. Getting shit done, like in Seattle for science. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Thanks for supporting.
And happy birthday. Happy birthday to Miles.
You. 29.
It's his birthday.
Hooray for me.
All right. Well, happy birthday. And thank you for taking time on your birthday to talk to us.
Especially.
Yeah.
Well,
I could think of 1,000 different things I would rather be doing than talking to me, but
Well, I'll do laser tag later tonight, but this is more.
Oh,
important.
okay. So
because you're on the West Coast. It's 8:00 already for us. It's bedtime for me.
Yeah. So all right. So let's talk about the March for Science. Now, the thing that struck me about this, and this is why we're kind of including it in the internet portion of the show, is I remember somebody on my Twitter feed tweeted about it, and then I instantly retweeted and followed the account, and it had maybe 100 or so followers. And then by the end of the day, it was explosion of people being interested in this thing. So Miles, can you kind of talk to how this just grew?
Sure.
From
yeah.
nothing,
So I mean,
pretty much?
the initial kind of idea was started by the people in DC. It was going to be the March of Scientists, right? They were inspired by the Women's March, and then there was the whole attack on the EPA and the idea of censoring a lot of the parks departments and saying that they couldn't talk about climate change, and then saying that scientific data had to go through the White House before it was published if it was publicly funded, and that kind of triggered this stairs ad effect where people saw information being censored, so everyone wanted to look at the information. And these accounts grew rather rapidly of the Alt EPA, the Alt Parks Department. Then the March for Science was kind of like the action-oriented part of that movement. And as it started to grow, and I saw that they were looking for satellite marches, I thought I was in a good position to help set up the Seattle one because I write science stories up here. I do science communication, and I felt hey, this is my moment. I've always been talking about how we need to make science more optimistic and make people feel like it's something they should buy into to build a better future. And I felt kind of responsible to take the chance and get the page going. So I set up the Facebook and set up the Twitter, and I luckily I have a lot of art assets from the work that I do that were kind of inspiring science shots. So those kind of started trending really well, and I made the little Earth with the I'm with her pointing at the Earth, and that was quite mimetic. So it kind of helped build the page up. And also I think Seattle, regardless of me, would have quite a big group because Seattle cares about technology and science quite a bit. It's kind of the backbone of what we do up here. So I'm sure I helped a little bit, but also a lot of credit has to go to Seattle for being such a scientific and technology-driven city.
Yeah, I mean your Facebook group and Twitter following, it's really large. It's really large, and it grew quickly. And so I mean it speaks to, obviously, like you said, the community there, and then you just the initiative you took is pretty awesome. That it just happened like that.
Yeah,
and
well, I also have a lot of other great people helping me. I put some people in leadership teams and different groups and stuff, and they're doing a lot of great work. But it's just really awesome to see people come out and support a positive cause, because this is the March for Science. We're trying to be a positive and constructive march to show everybody why we care so much about the methodology of science and all that it can do for us, both in terms of social good, what it has done for us in the past, what it can help us understand, and where it can take us.
And so go ahead, Dan.
This is why we got it. So how many people are involved on the organizational side of things?
Sure. So we have the three main people in leadership team. We have Serene, who's in charge of community and diversity outreach. And then we have Teresa, who's in charge of logistics. I think she probably has the hardest job. And then I'm kind of on the media and messaging side of things. And so then we each have a bunch of people downward that do lots of other things. We have a webmaster and a merchandising guy and everything like that. So we're trying to build a big group and include everybody that wants to volunteer. But our list of volunteers is kind of large right now. But we're trying to get everyone involved who has a passion for it. And of course, we're going to have tons of marchers.
And as far as like, mission or goals of the march, is there like an overarching, like for all of kind of the March for Science, like goals and things, or are there things specific to you guys, or both?
Sure. So there is like an overarching goal, and each city, has the right to talk about things the way they want to. What's really important to the main organization and to us is that we make science seem like what it is. It's for the people. Science doesn't belong to any political party. It doesn't belong to any moment in time or a group of people. Science is a process that helps us understand the world, and that should be for everybody. And so we really want to put science in people's hands and make them feel like it belongs to them, because it does.
Is Natalie still here?
I'm still here. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think.
Again,
I know it sounded.
This is like the dirty side of things that you never see.
It sounded a little glitchy for a sec. Yeah. So I know that some of the criticism I had seen was kind of that the march was kind of political or sense, but like
trying to encompass like too many things into what is one message or into one moment.
We are political in the sense that we want the government to support science. We want data that we've paid for to be open to the public. And we want more people to think about science issues when they vote. We are not partisan in the sense that we're not saying any group of people has a monopoly on good ideas or has a perfect understanding of science. Science is a complicated thing, and if you're not an expert in any field, you're likely to be wrong in another one. And so, there's misunderstandings about scientific consensus all around. But we're here to march for science. That doesn't mean many people in the group or many of the organizers don't have other causes they're interested in. But what I would like to do, and what the team would like to do, is get people to see that there are scientific solutions to these that are not just political. For example, like we have political problems in America. We're like in Flint, they have a massive water crisis that everybody's aware of. Politics is one methodology for solving problems, but also engineering, which is a dovetail of science, is another process. If you can cause social good by getting into the sciences and learning how to make better systems, so perhaps these things won't fail if our political system does. So if you're very interested in social justice issues, we are too. We just want to say science is a great way to get involved in them, because you can fix them even if our other systems fail us.
And I think that's where a lot of the criticism has come from, was definitely early on, it was not, you could tell that they didn't expect it to explode in the way that it did. And so early on there I felt a lot of those undertones, or at least some of the things that I read, that were talking about, a lot of those social justice issues. And something that I've said is like typically the Venn diagram of people who support science and the people who promote social justice are that's resembles pretty much a circle. But I think what they've done a good job of since like late January, whenever they first kind of organized and were getting the message together and getting out there, I think they've really started to focus more on the, like you said, the science aspect, and not so much some of these issues that are a little bit outside of the realm of science, and focusing on facts and evidence-based information, and letting evidence guide our opinions in politics.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, the march probably expects to get like a really good turnout, I would expect, like in all of the locations, like DC and otherwise. And so that'll be like, I mean, I imagine in a way similar to like I went to the Women's March in DC, and it was this like, massive coming together of people, and I felt a vibe of, optimism and like people wanting to, like move forward and, have a cause. Like, is that the, like a similar hope for the Science March, that's like a rallying of people around this idea of critical thinking and everything?
We used to have this vision of science, the Star Trek kind of gaze, that it would make us, brighter, more inclusive, and better in the future. Science was the moon lander, and it was going to be the flying car, and it was plastics, and it was, longer lifespans, Science did deliver on some of those things, but then we had the atom bomb, and we had these Cold Wars, and we have the threat of automation taking people's jobs, and we have this fear.
If we could just stop killing one another long enough.
Yeah. Well, and we have this fear and this doubt, and then science has become something people see as isolated. The scientists are those people over there. You see that a lot in media, where scientists, don't have a lot of common sense or don't have a lot of social skills. But this isn't true. Science is work, and scientists are working people. And there's never going to be a better time to come and talk to us, to get involved in science, because we're going to be out on the streets. There's going to be geologists and physicists, biologists. We're all going to be walking. And so any kind of institutional problems we've had with science and being inclusive, we can't fix that in a day. We can't fix all the pessimism and cynicism in the world, or all the problems in general. But scientists are going to be out on the street, and if people can come meet us and come join us and come see what we have to say, then I think that can do a lot of work to helping the world be better, and not just America, but the whole world.
I like optimism. I do. I think
I'm trying really, really hard to. That's my positive.
Well, no, I think though, that's the part for me that I can kind of grab onto with this sort of, march or whatever, is that in the current climate right now, like the dumpster fiery climate of the year, something like this, if it can be a unifying force, and then people figure out from there what's next, and then actually make moves to make change, that's cool, I think.
Yeah, it's important to remember that although cynicism, can really weigh on you, and you can definitely find information to validate it, it's not an evidence-based position. Lifespans have been increasing. All indicators of wellness have been increasing. We learn more every year. We become better every year. Obviously, there's a certain foil that we have politically, and we're not always getting better every single year in all of our ways. But like Martin Luther King said, the arc of history is long and a bend towards justice. And I think that that's statistically true. At least I hope so.
So seriously. So, all right. If there are people that are listening to this or watching it and want to get involved in the march, what can they do? Or if just in general, people want to be advocates for science and reason, what advice do you have? I mean, look at, you've just kind of took this whole thing on and ran with it. So on, even on just a smaller level, what advice do you have for people?
So there's lots of things you can do. A lot of people think science is really cool, but don't know a lot about it. You're very welcome to join the march. It isn't just people who know what p-values are. If you think that science is important, we welcome you to come to the march. You can go on Facebook and find your local march. There's some in small towns, big towns, it doesn't matter. There's also the DC one. Go find your Twitter, get involved there. There would be organizers at each one of those marches that will love to have your help, even if it's just clean up after the march so we leave no trace, and be very eco-friendly after the march, or help with photography or finance, whatever it is. Please get involved. There's tons of things you can do also if you just want to learn more about science. I'd recommend, checking out Carl Sagan's work, read Demon Hunter World or his original Cosmos. That should really inspire you and kind of get you into like this passion that a lot of us have for science comes from people like Carl Sagan. And there's tons of other great writers from all different cultures and societies in the world that you can read. So I would just look into whatever field you care about the most, whatever social justice issue or culture or kind of thing. There are people there that do really great science. So get involved with them, and then you can illuminate their work in the Science March if you want, because we just want to include everybody.
Awesome. And I'd like to give you a second also to plug some of the other work that you do.
At all, what you do and where to find you.
Because you do some awesome stuff.
It's more about the march.
We're gonna make it about you right now for the end, so you can tell everybody what you work on and where to find you on the internet and that kind of good stuff.
Well, my name is Miles Greb, and I live up here in Seattle. I write a couple comic books that are hard science based. My main one is called After the Gold Rush, and it's the first kind of hard science based comic where it's peer reviewed. So any of the information in it, you can write it and correct, and we'll print fixes in the end of each issue. It follows the last scientist as she returns to Earth to find it in a state of wilderness. And the first couple issues are out now. I also have a prehistorical novel called Clovis, which follows what maybe is the first North American people, but the science on that's a bit tentative, called the Clovis people, and a young mother who is searching the wilderness for her lost son. So those 2 books are out now. You guys can check them out through my website. You can go to at Gold Rush Comic or afterthegoldrush.space, and you can find those. But I would do that after you get involved with the Science March, because that's more important.
Well, thank you for just being an advocate for science and being just so stoked about doing it. I mean, I think it's always cool and inspiring to see people who are passionate about, whatever they're doing. And so, thank you for talking to us about this. And we'll have links to everything that you're up to and the Science March stuff, everything in our notes for the show. But yeah, thank you. And we're excited
thank you so much.
to see this continue. And you know what? I'd love to have you come back after the march, and we can do a little recap of how it all went and where it's going from there.
Read After the Gold Rush and tell me if anything's wrong, and then we could talk about that.
We could have a multi-purpose show next time. We could do comics and post Science March. So
Sure.
we'll do a longer
Why
one
not
that
both?
time. So why
I'd
not
be happy
both?
to.
We will do both. Yes. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys, and be sure to join the March for Science.
Yeah.
We will.
Cheers.